webpage. And without talking much more, and I now want to introduce Atish Dabholkar, who is he's of course the director of ICTP, but also he's the chair of our steering committee. So it's a great pleasure to have Atish giving some opening remarks.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone here. It's my great pleasure and honor to open this very important meeting. As you all know, this is a kind of a big event in our community when we come together and get to discuss the exciting developments in our field. But this year we have to do it in this manner. And I would like to therefore start by congratulating the local organizers, Nathan, Andre, Horacio, Victor, Diego, and Pedro, for really putting together a wonderful program, an exciting program in this very innovative format. I think they have tried their best to make it more engaging. They have discussion sessions. So really excellent organization in this new format. And in fact, I'm very happy to say that at ICTP, we have a kind of a communal screening, even though you cannot see. We are screening it in our big Budinich lecture hall, and there are at least 25 people sitting here. So next slide. So before as Nathan mentioned, ICTP has a close connection with South American Institute for Fundamental Research, SAIFR. That's why it is called the ICTP-SAIFR. They are our partner institute, and we are very proud and we are of this collaboration. And the mission of SAIFR is to be among the leading theoretical physics institutes in the world, performing research, training, and outreach at the highest standards, and serving as a stable international scientific hub for all of South America. So this is, of course, very closely linked to the mission of ICTP itself, going back to the inspiration of Salam, that science is a common heritage and creation of all humankind. So we want to create opportunities that help overcome the barriers of geography, gender, economics, and ethnicity. And our partner institute initiative is essentially to make sure that what ICTP does at Trieste, we can now do it locally, for example, in South America. And it was with this intention that this partner institute was started. And I really am glad to see how it has flourished. These are the 5 permanent faculty members of SAIFR. In the last 10 years or so, it has really flourished to become a first-rate scientific institute. And I know how difficult it is, and I want to congratulate Nathan and all his colleagues who have made this possible. This is an impressive achievement. I know what kind of difficulties you come across trying to create a center like this, and I have seen how they have overcome them. And in some ways, the Strings 2021 being organized in Sao Paulo is a recognition of the quality of the work that is being done at SAIFR. So I should just say a few words about SAIFR. I mean, we have a steering committee, but I should thank some of the people on the steering committee: Juan Maldacena, Peter Godard, Michael Green. But also I should thank the previous people on the steering committee and the scientific council, Barton Zwiebach, and my predecessor, Fernando Quevedo, and also in particular, the previous deputy director of ICTP-SAIFR, Ranjbar Daimi, these were the people who really supported ICTP-SAIFR during its initial phases. And as you can see, really, SAIFR ICTP radiates outwards and interacts with many, many organizations around the world. And it is really now has taken a wonderful shape as an international physics hub. It is supported by 3 organizations. To begin with, UNESP is basically the Sao Paulo State University, then Sao Paulo Research Foundation, and ICTP, and also Institute of Physics, and National Council for Scientific and Technological Development. So these are the main funders of SAIFR. But we also, SAIFR also receives private funding from Simons Foundation, Serra Pilheira, Perimeter Institute, APS, and LocaWeb. So I think our community doesn't need me to tell you how well SAIFR is doing, but this is a kind of an illustrative graph which tells you that really they have been growing very continuously and very stably. And now, over the last so many years, they have 257 activities, something like 2,000 visiting scientists, and something like 5,000 students have passed through. So it's really performs this important mission of bringing science, making it available to the best students through research, training, and outreach. I want to go back before I open the conference. I just want to, I have a personal connection that I want to mention, that in 2001, exactly 20 years ago, the Strings 2001 was organized in India. And we were among the organizers. I was one of them and my colleagues in India. And it was, I remember, it was a very important event for the Indian string community to hold this major conference. It was for the first time, actually, the Strings conference went to a developing country. And as you know, Strings has been a long tradition for now decades. But it was for the first time that it went in 2001 to India. And at that time, I was on the other side. I was one of the organizers. And I remember ICTP was very generous in their support for the Strings 2001. And now it's exactly 20 years later. This was in Asia. We have this conference coming here in South America to another continent in the developing world. And I recall that in India, it was really made a big splash, and it was very important, at least for 1 week. Even the person on the street of Mumbai sort of knew about what are strings or something about strings, black holes. It was in newspapers. But also scientifically, it had an impact that it sort of made it clear that the Indian string community was of the quality that it was. And it also helped us with our funding agencies. And I hope it has a similar impact in Brazil. So wish you all the best, my colleagues in SAIFR. And I look forward to a really exciting conference ahead. So thank you, Nathan. Over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So we have a few minutes, so I just want to review a little bit about the protocol. So I think all of you are very familiar with how things work on Zoom, but maybe some of you are newer. So we have actually a PDF file you can look on the web page. So if you want to ask a question, the way to do it is to raise your hand. So at the bottom of the participant list or reactions on my screen, you should be able to click to raise your hand. And then at the end of the session, or even during the discussion sessions, the chairman will call you, and then you can open your microphone and ask the question. So that's actually one way to ask a question. Another way to ask a question is just send it by chat to everybody. So of course, this is just for physics questions. So if you have a specific question about the computers, you can send it to our computer person, which is Tiago Codinhoto. He's one of the co-hosts. Or if you have an organizational question, you can send it to me or one of the other organizers. So those are the way to ask questions. And of course, one thing to remember is after you ask the question, please lower your hand and turn off your microphone. So, okay, I think up to now, people can turn the videos on if they want. I mean, I think it's enjoyable to see people's faces. So some other comments, as I mentioned, we'll have 2 outreach activities on Saturday and Sunday. So on Saturday, we'll have a public lecture by Jim Gates. And the time will be 2 o'clock in Brazil, and we're going to have simultaneous translation. So I think we'll hopefully get a local crowd and also, of course, an international crowd. And then Sunday, we'll have an activity which is a little bit different than normal activity, which will be called Ask a String Theorist. So we invited 4 journalists, and David Gross is the moderator, and all of the speakers and chairpersons and members of our organizing committee to be on the panel. So the idea is that the public will be invited to ask a question, and then the journalists will select the questions so the questions will be sent by chat on YouTube, and the journalists will select the questions and ask them to the whole panel. So anybody can raise their hand and answer, and hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. So there'll be some discussion. Probably not everybody will agree on the right answer, and David Gross will help moderate the discussion. So that's also a Sunday at 2 o'clock, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. So please help to advertise these activities. That will also have simultaneous translation, but please help to advertise these activities to everybody in your community. Okay, I don't have any more comments. I think we should wait a few minutes just so people who show up at 9:30 don't miss the beginning of the talk. So let's just wait a few minutes until we start at 9:30.